Some big moments in NFL history have a wide-reaching impact, and the results fundamentally change where the NFL is today and the path that it went on. Others are still very memorable but don't have the same reach. That is the case with today's game, as welcome to episode 2 of NFL Memory Lane, where we go back to 2017 and talk about the Jesse James no catch. The Steelers are coming off of the 2016 AFC Championship game appearance that they had with this new star-studded lineup that is known as the Killer Bees. 2017 is year 2 of this lineup with Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell, and expectations were seemingly at an all-time high for the Steelers because of this. Entering 2017 had an over-under of 10.5 wins, and they sat at plus 1,000 odds to win the Super Bowl. On the other sideline was the New England Patriots. They're coming off of their Super Bowl win in 2016, which was the famous 28-3 game, which will be a video at some point in this series. The Pats ended 2016 with a 10-game win streak, including that Super Bowl, and they were full steam ahead trying to win as many rings as they can in what could be the final few years with Tom Brady in New England. They were the favorites entering 2017 with plus 275 odds to win the Super Bowl, being by far the highest in the league. The second highest was plus 800 by the Seattle Seahawks. They also had the highest over-under across the entire league at 12.5 wins. These two teams faced off against each other in the AFC Championship game for 2016, and it wasn't really a competitive affair. New England took an early 10-0 lead into the second quarter, and they never looked back, having a lead as large as 27 points at one point during the fourth quarter. It was pretty a non-competitive AFC Championship game. So when these two teams were set to face off against each other in Week 15, there was understandably a lot of hype surrounding this game, especially with the fact that these two teams sat just one game apart of each other on top of the AFC. The Steelers were at 11-2 after a 1-point win over Baltimore, and the Pats were at 10-3 after a 7-point loss to Miami on Monday Night Football. What it does mean is that it was a short week for New England heading into the 4:25 kick in a cold Heinz Field as Stephen Gostkowski sends the opening kick down. The Steelers' first drive is highlighted by Le'Veon Bell as he had a 17-yard reception followed by 2 carries for 12 yards, but an offensive holding by David Castro and an incomplete pass towards Jesse James means that the drive stalls out. Tom Brady comes in and takes control on the Patriots' first drive, going 3 for 3 for 60 yards, highlighted with a 43-yard pass to Brandon Cooks, and Rex Burkhead getting the score and started with a 1-yard touchdown carry. Ben responds with a great drive of his own, throwing 7 times on an 8-play drive, going 5 for 7 for 68 yards, and the drive was capped off by an 18-yard touchdown pass to Eli Rogers. So entering the second quarter, the game would sit tied at 7 after a Patriots punt ends the first quarter. Here's a point I kind of want to make for why this game is remembered the way it has been. It was a duel between two future Hall of Fame quarterbacks and another battle in their storied rivalry against each other. Tom Brady versus Ben Roethlisberger was always a matchup that was must-watch TV. Even though Ben didn't really have the best of luck against Brady in his career, it is still two great quarterbacks that play for two historic franchises. Their matchups are going to be remembered no matter what's at stake and no matter what comes after the matchup as well. The second quarter begins with a Chris Boswell 51-yard field goal after another Ben Roethlisberger-focused drive where he throws for 6 of the 8 plays, including a 17-yard reception for Juju Smith-Schuster and a 39-yard completion from Martavis Bryant. Next Patriots drive is all Tom Brady once again, 7 passing plays for this drive, 4 completions for 54 yards, highlighted by a 31-yard completion to Rob Gronkowski, which set up a Stephen Gostkowski 32-yard field goal. The Steelers have an absolutely beautiful drive to end the first half. 9 minutes of pure Steeler football. Le'Veon Bell gets his fair share of carries with 7 for 34 yards, including a 10-yard carry to begin the drive. James Conner had a 10-yard carry as well on this one. Plus, Ben Roethlisberger went 5 for 5 on the drive, capped off with a 4-yard touchdown pass to Martavis Bryant. So the Steelers have a 17-10 lead entering the half with pretty much the AFC 1 seed on the line. Patriots responded with a great drive of their own out of the half with a 12-play drive that lasted just under 7 minutes, 7 passes, 6 completed for 57 yards, 5 carries on the drive for 22 yards, and it finishes with a Brandon Cooks 4-yard touchdown grab. A Steeler punt after 5 plays, and then Vince Williams picks off Tom Brady, which sets up the Steelers for a quick 22-yard drive to make it an 8-point lead thanks to Le'Veon Bell. The 3-yard touchdown would be the final score of the third quarter, so we entered the fourth with the Steelers on top by 8. So at this point, it does very much feel like the Steelers are in full control of this game, but I do not need to be the first person to tell you that no matter what the score is in a game, you can never truly rule out the Patriots. They're far from that in this one, especially when the Steelers' second half drives are never really all that good. The very first drive of the fourth quarter was an 11-play drive that ended in a punt, and this was their only drive in the second half to be longer than 5 plays. In the first half, the Steelers had all but one drive that was 6+ plays, that being the opening drive of the game. Aside from that, it was an 8-play drive, 9-play drive, and 15-play drive, which were all scoring drives until the end of the first half. The Steelers would have 5 drives in the second half of this game. 2 were 5-play drives, which were the 2 first drives they had in the half. Then they had a 3-and-out after the Patriots had a 9-play drive, which ended in a 46-yard field goal. The main thing to note for that Patriots drive, as I'm kind of blowing past it, is that Tom Brady threw 4 straight incompletions to end the drive. If it wasn't for a bad penalty by Artie Burns, the drive would have ended after 2 of those, and they probably would have had to punt. Either way, after the Steelers went 3-and-out, it was time for Tom Brady and the 2-minute drill. And it was just a standard Tom Brady 2-minute drill, 3 for 4 completion, Brady being absolutely surgical on the entire drive, going for 69 yards, which got the Patriots down to the Steeler 8-yard line. From there, Dion Lewis punches it in, and it's the Patriots' first lead of the game since their opening drive of the game. The Brady-Gronk connection pushes it to a 3-point game with just a minute left to play for the Steelers. And the Steelers were able to respond very quickly. After a Juju Smith-Schuster 22-yard kick return, it is Ben Roethlisberger to Juju Smith-Schuster for 69 yards, which got the Steelers down to the Patriot 10-yard line with just about 40 seconds to play and no timeouts remaining. They're down by 3, needing only 10 yards for the win, but are guaranteed overtime as long as nothing stupid happens on this drive. And the very first play of this next sequence
to the end zone. Caught! Touchdown, Pittsburgh! Jesse James!
Welcome to the next episode of Hit NFL Game. What is a catch? The weekly NFL game where the fans at home are just as likely to win as the NFL officials calling the game. For today's episode, we have this play by Jesse James. On the field, it was ruled a catch and the game-winning touchdown with just under 30 seconds to play. The question being, does he have possession through the entire time of the catch? It's time for us to consult the NFL rulebook here real quick, because this is kind of the main thing with the catch rules, is that for a situation like this, there's never really anything set in stone about what it is, and most of it is up to interpretation and how you want to combine the rules and how you view the play on the field actually went. First, we need to figure out how the rulebook exactly describes a catch. The first bit of note I'm going to make here for this in terms of what the actual rules state is from Article 7, Rule 3, Note 1 of this, which states that it is a catch or an interception if in the process of attempting to possess the ball, a player secures control of the ball prior to it touching the ground, and that control is maintained during and after the ball has touched the ground. This is being brought up because it is one of those points that specify the ground being a factor into this, but there is other things that do quantify for a catch having to be made. The weird thing when it comes to Article 7, which talks about player possession, is that it doesn't actually really specify specifically catch. It pretty much just says gain possession of a loose ball, with the entire article specifically stating, to gain possession of a loose ball that has been caught, intercepted, or recovered, a player A must have complete control of the ball with his hands or arms, and B have both feet or any other body part other than his hands completely on the ground in bounds. And after A and B have been fulfilled, then C clearly perform any act common to the game. The examples given here for this is extend the ball forward, take an additional step, tuck the ball away and turn upfield, or avoid or ward off any opponent. It is not necessary that he commits such an act provided that he maintains control of the ball long enough to do so. This rule applies in the field of play, at the sideline, and in the end zone. The big part of this here is in the end zone, because this is a play at the goal line. So now let's take a look at Jesse James during this play. He has possession at some point during it. His knee is down and he turns towards the end zone, which is upfield for him at this point. And he even crosses the plane of the goal line. Him crossing the plane of the end zone here is kind of the other big point of this, because typically when that happens, The play is dead if they then go on to lose control of the ball either way. There are two separate sections in the NFL rulebook that dive into touchdown, kind of what it means. The first one is in section 38. Section 38 states that it is a touchdown if any part of the ball is on, above, or behind the opponent's goal line while legally in possession of an inbounds player, provided it is not a touchback. The second one in Rule 11 for scoring, section 2, article 1, has a few other points of all of this as well about how a touchdown play can happen. The main thing to grab from here is part A, saying that the ball is on, above, or behind the plane of the opponent's goal line, in parentheses extended, and is in possession of a runner who has advanced from the field of play into the end zone. So in theory, everything here and everything that the play shows sets up for this play to stand as called.
After reviewing the play, the receiver in the end zone did not survive the ground. It's an incomplete pass.
Oh my goodness!
It'll be Pittsburgh's ball. Second down and 10 at the 10-yard line.
The NFL claims surviving the ground, which is something that a lot of NFL fans joke about both at the time and now because it's kind of a funny way to describe this, but the NFL rulebook states surviving the ground as player does not survive the ground if a player who has satisfied A and then B but has not then performed part C contacts the ground and loses control of the ball. There is no possession if the ball hits the ground before he regains control or if out of bounds he regains control. If a player would have caught, intercepted, or recovered the ball in bounds but is carried out of bounds, player possession will be granted. So this means that the NFL themselves in this moment ruled that he did not complete part C of the catching process, which is insane to think about because he catches the ball and clearly turns and goes towards the end zone, even stretching the ball towards the end zone. By every account, that is part C of completing a catch. So it gets ruled incomplete. Again, kind of mind-boggling when you look at all of it, but oh well, you have two more plays still to find the end zone. Plus, there is still plenty of time on the clock, so you can go anywhere in the field of play on second down, which is what the Steelers do. It is a 3-yard completion to Darius Hayward-Bay that gets brought down in bounds. And this is where panic starts to set in for the Steelers. To hurry up to the line, Ben looks to throw on third down.
Here he goes, third down play. Fakes the spike, still has it, now fires, and it's intercepted! It's intercepted to save the game by Harmon, and the Patriots are going to win it! Absolutely amazing!
Ben Roethlisberger makes one mind-numbingly stupid throw a game, and this is the main one here. Even if nothing was open quick with time winding down, you can just chuck it out the back of the end zone, send out Chris Boswell, and get the game to overtime to give yourself another chance. Instead, he tries to force it to Eli Rogers, and that was all she wrote. This game decided the 1 seed in the AFC this season, as both teams would then win out, and the Patriots would get it via tiebreaker. With a Steelers win, instead they would be hosting Tennessee in the divisional round, and the Pats would have hosted Jacksonville. The thing is though, does this even make any massive difference in how the season would have ended? Yes, it sets up an AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh against one of Jacksonville or New England, but would the Steelers have even beaten either of those teams in the playoff that season? In real life, they lost to the Jaguars both in the divisional round, which was a fantastic game, but also back in week 5, and they got boat raced in that game by them. And then if they play New England again, who knows what would happen in that instance. But still, it's one of those things where would they really even stand that much of a chance? Another step further, do the Jaguars or Steelers even stand a chance against the Eagles that season? Philly was such a team of destiny that year, where I don't think really any team making a Super Bowl in the AFC would have been able to stop them. If anything, a different team making the Super Bowl that season through this outcome being changed probably just hurts the legacy and the story of 2017. If it was a story of Philly rallying behind a backup in Nick Foles to get their first Super Bowl over Jacksonville or the in-state rival Steelers, would it have really carried the same amount of weight compared to it being against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Yes, for the Steelers, it would have been really nice to see them get another chance with Ben Roethlisberger, but it still wouldn't have changed how things ended with the Killer Bees as a whole. And as for Jacksonville, it wouldn't have changed how fast they fell off a cliff with that core either. And obviously for the Eagles and Patriots, it probably would have been the same outcome either way. Eagles get their first Super Bowl in 2017, Patriots get their 6th in 2018, and then from there, the rest is history as we know it. This is remembered for being another footnote in the history of Brady and Ben matchups, and for being another example of how the NFL continues to struggle with figuring out what is a catch in a sport where that should be the #1 priority and the first rule that is completely ironed out. Either way, I'd appreciate everyone tuning in to episode 2 of NFL Memory Lane. No wheel spin for this one. That will be done instead at halftime of the Super Bowl, because next week is the Hall of Fame games, where NFL preseason is here. There's going to be preseason coverage for Miami and all the teams as well. So that's what the content's going to be shifting towards. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one.